Buonasera a tutti. Hi, everybody. My name is Raffaella Giampaola, and I am the director of the Italian Cultural Institute in Oslo. I'm very, very glad to welcome you all to this online art talk, which is part of the international calendar of the 18th edition of Giornata del Contemporaneo, that is the Italian Contemporary Art Day. This celebration is promoted by AMACI, the Association of Italian Contemporary Art Museums, in collaboration with the Italian Ministry of Culture and the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. This edition's main theme is dedicated to ecology and sustainability. So global issues that are at the core of tonight's conversation on environment, time, and indigeneity. Stefano Cagol, from Arctic to the tropical ocean. Ecological issues have been addressed by Cagol's research for many years, and they are also at the center of his new work entitled Far Before and After Us. This work, which is present at the Venice Biennale 2022 in the exhibition of the State of Perak, Malaysia, has been further developed on the island of Kolta in Norway during a residency last June at BEC, the Bergen Center for Electronic Arts. And the premiere will be in Bergen at Kunsthal 314 on November the 11th. Now I'm very, very pleased to introduce the institutions and participants who will tell about Cagol's work and philosophy, and from various and different and maybe complementary perspectives. So museum in Bolzano, Italy. Welcome to Frida Carazzato. BEC, Bergen Center for Electronic Arts in Bergen. Welcome to be here, Maria Rusinovskaya. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Thank you so much. Curators and associated curator from the State of Perak, Malaysia at Venice Biennale 2022. Welcome to Khaled Ramadan and Camilla Boemio. Thank you for joining us tonight. Kunsthal 314 in Bergen. Malin Barth is here, and I will let her enter the studio in a few seconds. Thank you for joining us. Maga Museum in Gallarate, Italy. Alessandro Castiglioni will join us in a few seconds. And last but not least, let me introduce Stefano Cagol, the artist, who is actually the protagonist of this event. Stefano, who is based in Italy but now online from Gran Canaria Island, has an amazingly rich curriculum, which is difficult to sum up in a few lines, but he has won and he has been awarded the Italian Council Prize in 2019 and participated in International Biennale in Venice, Curitiba, of Cairo Biennale, Manifesta, Xinjiang Biennale in 2014, and Singapore Biennale as well. Thank you, Stefano, for arranging this meeting and for your work, most of all. And well, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Really, I'm so glad. I feel very lucky that I have this very nice crew with me for this informal. It's a conversation to friends, very informal, but we will go to very, very important topics, very central topics that finally I'm always now on the. They say like this year, the Giornata del Contemporaneo is about ecology, but of course, like I'm always on that point. I was starting with these things many years ago, and now is more. You have more people in these things, but luckily it is very important. We have to be more. We have to. You have to be lucky to go more and more in this kind of ecological view. And okay, the title of today was really is very important because it's about environment, time, and indigeneity, and from the Arctic to the tropical oceans. It's very incredible because really in the last 10 years, I was really involved from, we will see from the beginning with Frida. I will start at some point with an artist in residence in Kirkenes, that is up north Norway, on the border with Russia. And from that point was a very long series of projects, very connected with the climate crisis and so on. So now I'm in Gran Canaria. I'm so close to this kind of desert, and now I want to show you just a few seconds. But I have a lot of sun in my head. Rafaela, maybe you can just start to maybe you can have already Frida. Okay, it's fine. Okay, these are this interesting because it's also very connected with the Far Before After Us, and also from Evoke Provoke from 2011 now till this piece that is the title is The Flow of the Matter. This is a little Sahara that's here in Canary, because it's crossing the sea, the ocean, with the Kalima, with the wind, and now we have this little Sahara here. This part also of climate change, because now with Kalima is much stronger, and you have this kind of matter flowing here. Okay, it's another part about also the migrating matter that also we are. Okay, now we can start with Frida. I think. Frida, with Frida, she was the curator of this project with the Museum Facade. It's a very spectacular. Yeah, thank you, Rafael. The facade of museum is very unique. It's very incredible, and I also made a special cut for the facade. In this case, we will see this really only the first chapter of the Evoke the Border, and because after we will go again also with Maria, but anyway, also this fair was very important for me because I was always around in the cities, and I'm from the Alps, but nature was my place, my environment was New York or these kind of things. Also maybe Singapore or Tokyo. And Kirkenes was bringing back in a very strong way to this confrontation between the body, the human being, and the nature that was so strong. And there was alone there. It was very cold, and this was this kind of contrast. It was all this kind of fight that I was starting to think about our fight with the nature. It's not ecological. These are not ecological act. It's the opposite. So, Frida, yeah. I give you the word and welcome. Yeah. Thank you so much to be here.
No, thank you, Stefano, for inviting me. I would like also to thank the director of the Italian Cultural Institute, Raffaella Giampaola, for this invitation, and also my national and international colleagues that are partner tonight of this event. So thank you. Yes, as you say, Stefano, actually we started together because the programming of the Media Facade started in 2012, and you were part of my first programming with other artists, and the topics I developed in that year was connected with the topic of border and also ecological issues. So there was a Voc Provoke video that now is part of our collection, and there was a video by Sonia Leimer about the glacier, Isola Norte, and also for me it was important to have this focus on this topic. It's also interesting that after 10 years, we are still struggling on this topic more and more, and also with the topic of border that is part of this project. For me, Voc Provoke, the border has two levels. From one side, there is the topic of the border, that's part of the title also, and the ecological issue. From the topic of the border, for me it was interesting to have a special edition of this video you presented the year before in Venice, biennial, for the project Concilio. And I asked you to create a special cut for the Media Facade for the first reason is for the dimension of the projection, because as you can see through this documentation, the projection occupied the entire surface of the building. And for me, it was interesting, this topic of the border, because there was an interesting relationship between your action, the fact that you try to melt the border, because also of the place you decide to make these actions, to create this strange dialogue between the different elements. So we have snow, we have air, we have water, we have fire, and the light also. That is another important element that I found in the other project you made after. And for me, it was important because the facade is a kind of border between the museum and the city, the urban landscape of the city, between the inside and outside, and also because Bolzano is a city positioning on the border, and you are from that region, from Trentino Alto Adige, so a specific border region. And the fact that you made a special cut of this video is also a way to underline these acts, the fact that you focus on the element of the snow, of the fire, and it seems that you try to melt also the surface of the Media Facade, this glass surface. And because the Media Facade was conceived by the architecture as a constant dialogue between the museum and the city, also when the museum is closed. So, and for me was a way to continue this dialogue with an intervention, with this provoking intervention to destroy with the fire this glass surface in some way. But I say at the beginning that in Voc Provoke there is the topic of the border, but also the topic of the relationship between man and nature. In this case, is not visible in this video, but in the original video, the size of the human size face to the landscape. So the fact that you were alone in the middle of this white landscape in that specific moment of the day, and the fact that through the media facade also there is this relationship between the human scale of the people looking and the building and the dimension of the building. So for me there is also this topic in this project. The topic also, the relationship between man and nature, how the man, how the topic of the categories we use when we refer to the nature, the language we use when we created this relationship, and the position we take. And so it was your first step in this parkour you made 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and you touch after in the several projects. And I would like also to point out another point, the fact that also is a way to melt something that we consider eternal. I think, thinking about what's happened this summer within our region, Stefano, with the Marmolada glacier, the fact that we consider Marmolada something eternal, but unfortunately we have to reconsider this eternity. It's something that unfortunately we have to put in our discourse. And remind me another action you did always in Venice with the ice monolith in 2013, and there was this glass monolith in the Riva in Venice that started to destroy it, and it was a clear representation of what happened, unfortunately, or is still happening now, right?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Frida. It's of course, it was very connected. The ice monolith is very connected. It's like was the second step after the Evoke Provoke. But we will go more. We will see also the images of ice monolith with Camilla and. Okay, Frida, I think it was really, thank you for your, I know that you have to leave early, but thank you so much for being part of this nice group. Okay, grazie Frida.
Thank you.
So now we go to Maria Ruzinovskaya, because you know, Maria, for me, you are Maria, you know. Your surname, it's not easy to pronounce the pronunciation. Oh, can you tell me the exactly one? Ruzinovskaya.
Yeah, that sounds very good. Yeah, that's good. You managed to put a long and difficult one. Yeah.
Now we go, Maria. We go from the beginning, because we met really in Kirkenes, because at that time we were starting the curatorial team with. The Piccanepa Broen. I was there with this residency, and at some point was there also with the end of the border. Oh, Maria,
the end of the border is good. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. No, I think it's really interesting how our paths have crossed. Like
now video.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying how our paths have crossed like 3 or 4 times in different points of in Bergen, or in different points of Norway, always in connection with some residences that you were doing in different towns. And then I think, first time it was 2010 and 2011 when you came to stay at Piccanepa Broen, and you were making this new piece of Evoke Provoke the Border. And then we met again some years after, I think in 2014 or 2015, when you were doing residency.
I was in Europe. And we met again in another situation. It was really also a lucky coincidence that it was just before you this very great, beautiful position at the landmark Kunsthalle.
Yeah, it was when I just moved to Bergen and I got this job as a live program curator at Bergen Kunsthall. And then we were making, because you were working at the you were staying at the residency with SF at Bergen. And then we did this small event at Bergen Kunsthall as part of your the Body of Energy project.
Yeah.
And then now back to Bergen again.
Images. It was Bergen again, and it was the occasion that I was started a connection with the time of USF. I was starting a connection with Malin at the Kunsthalle at 314, and yeah, but everything it's incredible. Like this idea of time. Yeah, after we speak a lot about time. Yeah. You see here, Frida, you talk about the landscape and the Maria.
Yeah, no, so I thought it was interesting also how, like, in these 3 different meetings in 3 different sort of time periods, still when we were meeting, our research areas and interest areas were also intersecting with a bit different angles. And I think it's it's exciting for me to think how these 3 projects have a relation to a question of, traces, leaving traces, reading traces, making visible some invisible traces, and how you are approaching this question from very different positions of personality or interpersonality, or like different scale of time and geography. Because I thought with this Evoke Provoke the Border, it's of course the nature is very present there, and the ecological question of you playing with fire and water and cold and hot is very visible, but it's also important this very particular geopolitical situation of the context where this work is created, and it's exactly this proximity to the Russian border and also all those geopolitical interests from all over the world that are meeting at this very weird remote point. And I think it's sort of intriguing, playful thought of how you are highlighting this border with the lights lights and smoke that you can incorporate in your work. And then we move further to the Body of Energy, where you are using the thermometer.
Yeah, and Maria, you know what? That the fact that now I was again with you at the back.
Yeah.
Project, but now we take a look about because I found also your. Okay, this was the long.
Yeah.
Okay, this was one of my long kind of this traveling project. I was traveling around for around Europe for 20,000 kilometers, supported by the Energy Stiftung was an international prize. I was looking about energy, and this is the vision with a thermal camera. This is the infrared view. You can see this is another kind of view of the body, because life is warm. It's very connected with life, because when you die, that you become very blue. You're not so bright. But now I find you, Maria. In a few seconds, is also your portrait.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting to think how here you change this perspective into like your personal. I was so skinny back then. Look at that. But the temperature imprint, I bet is the same. I bet is the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit was the before the event.
Yeah.
Different cut, huh?
Yeah.
It was the clapping. yeah, this was really the first step of the body of energy. After that, we have also Alessandro Castiglioni that was also part of the project.
Yeah.
This really close to Bergen, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah. So and then it looks to me like if you're zooming in a bit, you know, like you look at how like you individually and your signature, your body and your life leave the imprints, how you can also register and grasp and maybe measure these imprints. And then you step back again to see like a bigger scale picture, I think, with the project that you do now in Bergen. And then you think from the position of sort of a little bit of the position of future archaeology, because then you look at the imprints that can be read later and that can be sort of made visible and intelligible later. So yeah, I think it's sort of an interesting tempo, you know, changing this different scale of perspectives. But I'm also wondering about one thing, and I was wondering if I can ask you a question now while we are talking, is that I think it's very like so you have been mentioning, and Frida also mentioned just now, this confrontational element in the narratives that you build, or that it's always or often you can see just the position between you, your figure, or a human figure, and the environment around it. And I'm wondering also about, you know, how it hangs together with this your choice of being alone, doing the works alone. Like what's the connection between you just confronting this big world around you, but also actually placing then a human figure in the center of the work and being the main character of the work? Can you reflect a little bit on this in connection to these three projects?
My scale is my body, my experience, you know, my personal experience. In the beginning was Kirkenes. It was the first time I was doing something like this. Like I was alone. I don't know why I was so crazy. It was also a bit dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
But now, also after with Calais, we will see like the last work that we have on the project in Biennale. Okay, from Kirkenes was more. I was there. I was looking around. I would try to have this kind of confrontation. I was trying to communicate. Now, in the years, become more in a kind of divination, a kind of more shamanic attitude, some way. Try to it's not just looking, but try to have a kind of relation, try to have a conversation with the nature, with the environment around you. And this, when you are alone, it's very different. The concentration. I really prefer to go alone completely. And this also because I'm able to do that. Not many artists are able to do, you know, because you have to also have the ability to, for example, like at some point now I'm using a drone, performing, I do everything alone. So I really like this kind of position for, think about the future and about my future, but also that we will see with Khaled the idea of that we are so small anyway. You know? We are very very little anyway. You know.
Yeah. You know, I'm also wondering, as Beck is this production house, and we are working in this intersection between contemporary art and technology and social critique. And we are all the time thinking about what an artwork can be and what it can do, and also how it can be produced, how it can be made, and how to do art while being accountable to the times that we live in. And then a question that really like is important for me is the questions of ecological thinking, ecological entanglement of your thinking, different approach to the time perspective. How can they be not only a topic or a subject of an artwork, but how can they be also incorporated or reflected upon in the way the work is being produced and shown? Do you know what I mean? Like thinking of the imprints that we leave, thinking of the slowing down the time, thinking of the different type of dialogue between us and nature or us as nature. Do you have any thoughts of how these topics can be reflected in the way you make work and not what the work is about?
Big question. I need help. No, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's not. I'm not sure about what. I was start with all these kind of things that now we will see also after this idea of this hyper object, because we are inside of this element. We are not sure that we are not really understand. You know, it's like very difficult to understand what happened around us, because we are like little fish in a bowl. You know. And I try to, it's a kind of decoding or trying to make an interpretation with different medium, a lot of technology, but it's art and science, but it's art. But art can be very powerful for produce new image, also for telling, tell the story, for have the narrative about what happened around us. Also, my first video was about nuclear things in '95. So I was always attracted by these things. Not attracted because I think they're very important. This kind of activism is not, but I'm using the aesthetic activism, you know, in different way, but I never stop. Anyway, so now I'm working more and more with this kind of performance, but they are not real performance because I'm performing alone normally. But and it's a video production in some way. It's a video piece after. But I don't know. I'm Maria. What do you?
No. Thank you. It gives some It gives some directions to think into. Thank you.
Yeah. But anyway, in 1 month, the 11/11/22. Also, this was very important. Also, today is 10/10/22. It's not just. For me, it was very also important. The number of these two things. The 11/11/22 you will see in Kunsthalle 314. Okay, Maria, you want to tell some last stuff, something, or?
No, I think I have said.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maria.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Maria, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And see you.
See you in a month.
Yeah, exactly. In a month. Okay. Oh shit! Wow, I have a problem with the video, with the Biennale video. I don't know why. Oh. Khaled, welcome. Okay, with Khaled, we met first time with the Maldives Pavilion. He was one of the curator of the Maldives Pavilion. I'm sorry, because for me it was very important to show the Biennale piece. But maybe, Rafael, can you try to you have the files? Ah, great. Amazing. So okay, from Maldives, this was very important project, like was very completely focused about the climate change, the climate crisis, the rising of the water, because but this I was left this story to Camila Khaled, because Khaled is also curator of this project, of this Biennale. That is also about the topic, very, very important, about the indigeneità in Italiano. Like, it was very incredible task to think about this, you know, because it's so important. Also part of the scale of what happened in the war with the indigenous people. And also was the connection that I was also already in contact with the Sami group, the Sami people in Kirkenes. Yeah, Khaled. Okay, the video this far before and after us. I made this in the not far to my home in the Dolomites, alone, in the evening, night, and with a drone. I'm doing like a kind of ritual with fire, ice, or my medium, like firelight, ice. I was doing like kind of shamanic or kind of ceremony, contemporary, mystical thing. I don't know. I was trying to be myself like an indigenous, contemporary one with a drone. Khaled, you can, of course, you cannot. It's also very important to introduce the project in the general project also in Venice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stefano. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is my voice clear? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Thank you for arranging this. Thank you, everybody, for taking part. And I'm delighted and honored to be part of this forum. Well, if we try to summarize a little bit of what Stefano is working with through a decade of time, and many of us also have done that, and then we notice that we have an ethical and ecological clash, where lots of terms are being misused, and the environmental debate itself, the question of issues and problem in nature and environment has been somehow abused by many parties, including politicians, scientists, activists, and to a degree also some artists who are not really having their hearts on the right side. If we look at the pyramid of how the debate on climate change is structured and being instrumentalized today, we see the politicians sitting on the top of the pyramid. We see like in the phenomena of Al Gore, for example. Next, we see the scientists on the second level, and then we see the activists like Greta Thunberg, and at the end we see at the bottom of the pyramid we see the artists, and of course the general public. In this equation, the most influentials here are of course the politicians, but also the scientists to a certain degree, because they're actually in a hidden war between the scientists, the environmental scientists themselves, that they have a disagreement, a fundamental disagreement on the issue of urgency on environmental issues. Of course, some of them are clearly puppets in the hands of politicians, and some are puppets in the hands of multinational corporations. So that the debate swing between, between politics and political activism and so forth. So during modern time, if we look at this debate, it keeps swinging between ecology and economy. This sort of marriage relationship is overshadowed by a very urgent question, and that is the issue of morality. Many nation states like Brazil, Indonesia, China, and the US are hiding behind the question of morality, claiming that ethically and morally we justify our act that we use or abuse the natural resources to feed the people. So they try to prioritize their citizens, but actually what they're doing is they excluding other part of humanity. So they focus on certain humans, which is a national, and they forgot about the rest of the humanity. This is a narrow nationalistic argument, but it is what it is today, unfortunately. So who do we have here who really have a moral intervention in this issue, but they really don't have let's say a personal agenda other than a frank and transparent and honest approach are in most cases are the artists. Unfortunately, we are not treating the issue as us as artists and curators who deal with the issue. We cannot claim that we are scientific enough. Therefore, we try to use our love for nature, and that's exactly how I see it. It's feelings from the heart, that we stand there and try to outcry on certain issues, and by presenting artworks that shake the public opinions, and to draw the attention to these matters. I record the debate over the disappearance of the Maldives when we work with Stefano and Camila and others at the Maldives Pavilion in 2013. I record that one of the artists who literally took the subtitle of the pavilion, which was called "Disappearance as Work in Progress: Approaches to Ecological Romanticism." The artist who took that literally and adopted a work from A to Z and put it in public is actually Stefano. His work, the Ice Monologue, was a direct interpretation, and it's unfortunately it's no longer with us. It's because it was made of ice. So the issue of disappearance here, I think it was for 2 weeks or something like that, Stefano, I believe, on the
no, yeah? It was just 72 hours.
72 hours, yeah, okay. 72. But I remember you told me it was expected to melt even faster, but it didn't. It was like resisting disappearance,
Yeah,
Exactly like the issue of the Maldives.
Remember, it was super cold. I don't know why, but it was cold.
But that's the thing, where you try to bring to the public attention an issue that they can relate to, the disappearance and the appearance of let's say, for example, the Isles of Maldives. It's a part of the physiology and geology of this country, this collection of islands. That we try to put that into debate, but we realize that there is a scientific a clash between the scientists, between the environmentalists, who disagree on the rising sea level of the Maldives and whether the Maldives will literally disappear in 2080. And that's something that scared us because we're not scientists. And I remember I asked one of the leading scientists who worked in the United Nations for 40 years on the issue of rising sea level, Nils Mornar. He's a Swedish scientist. He had left office when I did the interview with him. He referred to me, he said, the question of rising sea level is practically politically manipulated by the Maldives government, or in order to score some money for the state from China and United States and other countries. This was really like I was hit in the head when a scientist who was working as the head of the United Nations on rising sea level issues, telling you that what we see is there's not so much facts. There is a lot of calibration here and there, and images that you see, and the story is is politically manipulated, and so forth. It left us in a dilemma, as artists, as curators. But yet, it is only time will show who's going to disappear and who's going to remain. But one fact is there that what the artists are contributing, like Stefano and others, is not irrelevant. It is actually very relevant, because we are one of the last free people on the earth on the face of Earth, not having any motives when we contribute with an artwork and asking questions or address issues. We don't have other motives than our love for what we actually doing. So I understand that this is probably lots of involved in emotional statement rather than scientific, but that's the way it is. If you love something, you don't really have to justify it scientifically. But evidently, we have to held accountable and also point fingers, like in the case of activists. Like we will.
But in fact, that now that I'm creating a project with this science museum in Trento. That's because why? Because really they also the scientists that are working in, they really need art for they really need help for explain all this fact, because my project at the museum is We Are the Flood.
I remember.
You are also part on the board of the project, and okay, this is really the science. They need a lot of support for I have a visualization of something, that sometimes it's only numbers, or just very cold things. And art can be very strong in a very simple way, like the ice monolith. Everybody understands ice monolith. Really super. That now ice monolith is in some books in Italy for the school, as example of ecological model, like an art piece that is very focused on climate change and.
Well, I mean, it's a very, very pioneer way of thinking that you produce an artwork for the Venice, for a national representation in Venice, that it will actually literally disappear after a few days or after a few hours. This was what really.
Like really, that Frida was remember what happened in the Dolomites. That this Marmolada with a lot of many people was dying. Because a huge monolith, like a very big mass of ice, was collapsed. And now after 10 years, everybody say, "Oh, wow, Stefano, this is the reality." It's very fast, the process. We really got to lose really the glaciers of the Alpine glacier very soon. It's very fast. So, okay, Khaled, we can give the word to Camila that she will go ahead with Ice Monolith. Rafaela, can you put the video for Camila? Hello, Camila, welcome. You have no mic, the microphone, no voice. Aspetta. Yes.
Hi all. Thank you too much, Stefano, to invite me. It's an honor to stay with Khaled, to all these guys, to introduce your seminal practice. You are a so talented artist, and your topic of analyze is very influential for person. Before entering in the fulcrum of Kaggle aesthetical research, I would like to insert a theoretical passage to understand his artistic practice. The creative act is a game that now involves everyone in an experience that, as Alessandro Baricco calls post-experience, experience is he imagined the 20th century was fulfillment, fullness, roundness, a totally realized system. The post-experience is, on the contrary, gash, exploration, loss of control, dispersion. The experience was the conclusion of a solemn gesture, the reassuring result of a complex operation, the final return home. The post-experience is a sort of beginning of a gesture. It's the opening of an exploration. It's a rite of dispensing. In this rite act of rupture, there are aesthetical hypotheses of resistance. Resistance, this is a part of the practice of Kaggle that I think is so important during this long practice that he realized. There is a resistance from the poetical imaginary of the artist. It's an act of urgency in completely under the topic of ecological crisis. Resistance for the most bigger climate change that we are living, and we are only in the beginning of it. From a collapse, from an economical crisis, from the pandemic, from a nuclear disaster. And I know that your first one artwork that you realized, your first video, Stefano, was an artwork about the nuclear. And I think what was so important, so seminal, that you introduced this topic. In this part, you was very younger because this video you realized was in the 90s. But there was everything. There was your artistic soul. There was the dynamic of your practice. And in this resistance and hypothesis of resistance, you analyze everything that we are living in a so cruel situation, because we are living a so cruel global moment. There is also a crisis from an era of Amazon forest destruction. And what's happened in Brazil is horrible, and it's a really war. The heart changed, unfortunately. We are living an aesthetical of bodily, urban, and naturally decading. Through memories of epic human relationship with landscape, natural elements, oceans, mountains, and deserts. It's a creation of an archipelago of elective distancing and proximity, where real and imaginative geography happens and all two crash it and change together. In this experience, we start to have a collaboration with Khaled Ramadan and Stefano Cagol during the Maldives Pavilion. And this Maldives Pavilion, realized for La Biennale di Venezia, the Venice Biennale, raised a number of questions, of so important questions. The pavilion was placed firmly at the nexus of several issues crucial to our times. Among them, climate change, democracy, global and national governance, and within the context of La Biennale, the adequate artistic response to these issues. It was also so interesting to start a conversation, not only alone, not egoistical curatorial choices, but it was a sort of open conversation in which critics, journalists, curators, artists, people who actively enter in the topic had a long debate about it. This is the most important part, the fact that was not only an aesthetical pavilion, very good, but very egoistic, not was something that evoke, something that enter in the actuality of the global debate. And it was also one of the first international exhibition that talk about the climate crisis in a so strong way, direct way to enter with different voices that enter into the topic. The Maldives, as you know, as everybody know, probably will be completely submerged by the end of this century, unfortunately. It's a front line of the urgent quest for an adequate global response to climate change. The Maldives Pavilion was the ideal place to stage such a discussion in the art world with its international network of people and art spaces. For the Maldives Pavilion, Cagol realized one of the most interesting artwork of this edition of La Biennale, the ice monolith. A monolith of ice of the Alps appears in Venice along the shore in Riva Cabidio and melts in the summer sun. It was a sort of Kubrick frames. I remember that it was put in this part of Calle, and it was like a mirage, a sort of mirage. And it was a metaphor questioning the serious process that is affecting the planet. Ice melts to water that disappeared. And next decade risk to overhelp the most sensitive areas of the globe. First in the Maldives, but also Venice, also the mountains, Dolomiti, Alps, but not only Pakistan, Indonesia, and many other countries, nations. Ice and sun, so far but so close, connected by the same fate. Ice monolith was a few-hour action process which happened during the Venice Biennale Vernice. Its video documentation was a seminal part of this action. It was on view of the pavilion for 6 long months, and some months after also showed at Centro Arti Visive e Pescheria in Pesaro, for example. In a foot and video installation, mountains emerge from water or disappear into it. Dilemmas, resources, strategies, utopias were faced also in a platform involving a wide circle. And also a volume that you added, Stefano, and realized that I remember it's a so important book about discussion and different opinion about it. And we arrive in this edition of La Biennale. For this edition for Pera Flora Fauna project, Stefano intertwines ecology with native population in a sort of limbo, a mythological cave of Plato. In a far before and after us, Stefano proposed a divinatory vision that crosses the shamanic, transcendent, and symbiotic concept of native populations in relation to what is around. Contemporary rituals reconstruct and attempt a dialogue between human and nature, myth and future, epical situation and practical life. They move through the landscape, following traces, signs, space and time, using technological tools and natural elements. Revisiting Kagor's practice feels very much like a process of rewriting, not in a reconstructive sense, but more like an excision of content while keeping the structure, evacuating the image while rendering it legible. Probably the artist's interest is the universal desire for spiritual life, a yearning for some higher power of intelligence, or to reach for something behind, and led him to some interesting places. There is a constant exploration in the natural world, and there is also the title of this conversation that expanded this idea of different places from the south to the north of the world, but also an exploration in the state of perception, like Blake, for example, and his state of mind. This is a more personal and more emotive state. In general, artists take the history of shamanism very seriously and are applying it in our contemporary moment in a great effect. Shamanism is a technology for exploring non-ordinary states of consciousness in order to accomplish specific purpose, healing, divination, and communication with the spirit realm. Stefano reflects in a speculative work around the necessary return to the nature and into the nature, exactly. How art ecology needs to be focused to respect, interact, and change the spiral of capitalism. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for you. Really a beautiful, really a real lecture. Amazing.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. I love very much your practice, and
thank you.
I read a lot again your volume, your book, and answer completely about your research. It's so important because we are living a so difficult moment. We are living a crisis. Yesterday night in Kiev, you know what happened, and all its linkage, war, climate change, everything is a part of a global crisis. And I love art that add humanity and a scientific statements, not only aesthetical or change of the language of art, but a sort of activism. I love artists who are seriously in art, not only for.
Grazie, Camilla. Camilla, thank you.
I think about it.
Thank you. Ci vediamo alla finissage.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so happy to return in
Venice. November 27. No, Friday 26.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you to all. Thank you.
Okay. Ciao, Camilla. Okay. Oh, finally, Malin. Now we have the magic director of Kunsthal 314 that she was very interesting to meet her some years ago. You remember? it was already a nice presentation, and also a little installation with a Norwegian flag piece that I think still a very interesting work. Okay, but now this was interesting because now we will present in 1 month this new part that is like the second part of the Biennale piece. It's like a brother. The first one is from Alps, and this one is in Golta. I remember that before I made the video, you said me, but I know Golta, Malin. Yes. I know Golta. I was there. Oh, this is the map.
Yeah.
Because you remember, because you told me that when you was like a children place for, I don't know, adventures, I don't know, visiting. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very strange because, as a child with a father who was both a historian and a geographer, it was like a kind of a mandatory annual trip to go to Golta. And if we had visitors, we needed to go to Golta. And I think also when you were artist in residence working on the flag project, this is one of the places that I suggested you to go. But then you said, let's talk about Golta. And I'm like, what could I possibly?
I want to tell you. Okay. Anyway, we have just a bit of. It's like a footage of kind of Raffaella il suono del video. Yep.
Because
we have just some frames because we will have the presentation in 1 month. Okay. But for me, it was unbelievable because Golta is 400 million years old. This was very important.
Yeah, and
one of the most old place that you can walk, in the world, really.
Because you told me, let's talk about Golta, and I'm like, what could it possibly be? And then I looked into it, and I think my father would turn around in his grave because I didn't know this thing that you know. And over the millennia, autumn storms and strong onshore winds, like the one we have in Bergen today, have eroded the narrow rock at Golta, the one image that you just showed, and the waves can hit far inland and make it quite dangerous to do the walk that you did on the shore. But when the storms have subsided, the creation of the stormy weather, it kind of comes into view. And like you say, all the rocks belong to the bedrocks and are from the Earth's primeval times. The genus, which is the rock today, was originally formed when alkaline and acidic melted and solidified far down in the Earth's crust. And then later, when we came to the Caledonian mountain range, it kind of, like you say, was pressed up and came to our sites around 400 to 500 million years ago. And then again, it goes through another period much later, of course, and that's during the last ice age. And it was completely covered and in the dark. And then, of course, the ice also makes its action towards the stone or the mountain. And that's about 15,000 years ago when it melted. Of course, in our lifetime, we just know it as that the waves that keeps coming in on the rocks, it cleans it. And it's kind of allowed to take care of some sort of maintenance of Golta. So no vegetation and soil will form. So nature here is, in one sense, very vulnerable and very strong at the same time. And it's in this setting that you have chosen to do your work far before and after us. And I'm really curious because you have never talked about why you chose Golta.
Was a research, of course, from the satellite, and also through like sources online. I was reading visitors, I was really by chance. But I was also Golta for me. It's also the name. Okay, was also not so far from Bergen. This was very, very useful place, but special. And also the name. I think the name for me, names and titles are very important. For me, Golta is like a bit like Golgotha, you know. Some this kind Golta, really. Remember something biblical, you know. So old, so far, before, after us, for sure. Yeah, but I was searching with the maps like this, you know, and trying to find a place where it was possible to performing and build the new video that we will see in the 11/11/22.
Like a
In fact, this, you know, these images is not about the video. Huh? This just only frames some memories of the day. That was very okay. This also was very important because it was in the with the sun of midnight. You know, I was there at midnight for shooting with the last light at some point, and was very incredible. Oh, of course, always with a bit of danger. It was not easy to walk there in the. You are also. I was, for example, also was. You are so close to Bergen. I was alone. Finally, this is incredible, huh? That, yeah.
But it's kind of and I know that, you know, not to spill any beans for the upcoming project that will be featured, but you know, you were also, since you chose this time of midnight sun, and in Norway we have kind of like the a fire ritual to and to venerate the sun.
You see, like look now, like the sun is like around 1 a.m. It was very incredible, really.
But at the same time, I mean, I know it's not about, the project is of course not about this pretty place or scary place, because it really actually can be quite dangerous place. But over the years, our paths have crossed, and you've been very good keeping in touch. And of course, we have overlapping interest of topics, you know, the border and identity issues. We have environment, sustainability, and ecology thinking, like we have had in many, many projects. And it's like Khaled also says, you know, many of us works on these issues. But I got to know you as this incredible, genuine, cheerful, and positive person. But a lot of your art is so linked to nature and future. And in many ways, these two words are a couple in crisis.
Absolutely.
You know? So both our social and cultural behavior has kind of spinned out of control. But you find these very beautiful ways to communicate this to us without kind of preaching and lecturing us. And I see you very often as your artistic endeavors that, of course, you show us that we are the problem, but in many ways I also see it as you are fronting us that we also have to be the solution.
Hopefully. I'm more and more apocalyptic now. I'm very apocalyptic, but
everyone will meet.
Well, yeah, but we, for sure, maybe, I think humanity are so beautiful, but we are so fast, you know.
Yeah.
We are too fast. But you never know. Maybe we can really have the solution. Maybe, I hope. Yeah. Oh, Malin. So see you in 1 month exactly.
Yeah, exactly in a month. So it will be our pleasure to feature your work and to wish everybody in the city welcome. And I'm sure you will also later feature the work in some other institution.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you, Malin. Thank you, really.
Soon.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And thank you for your support and guest me.
Absolutely, always.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ciao. Now we have the last guest, but it's not really the last. It's the very important guest because he knows so good my work, because it was also create me a big solo show in the Museum of MAGA, and we start with the body of energy, and now it's a very long time that we collaborate. Okay, benvenuto Alessandro. That is the you are the chief curator, no, deputy director of MAGA. Okay.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm very happy to give my small contribution to the vast debate around the work of Stefano, because I think that there is, among the many perspectives already given, a very important aspect that deals with his work and that became clear through the exhibition I curated in the Museum of Contemporary Art of Gallarate. That is a quite big museum on the northwestern area of Milano, where I'm the chief curator, the senior curator, and the deputy director. That exhibition for me was particularly interesting also for the theoretical background developed around the exhibition that was that went under the label or under the word hyperobject. That was the title of the exhibition itself. Well, this definition, for the one who maybe are quite familiar with the OOO philosophy or the ontology of objects philosophy, related with the very famous book and study of Timothy Morton that was called clearly hyperobject. Well, the theory of hyperobjects, even if that could be matter of discussion, but in my opinion, there is one perspective that makes this theory very interesting. The fact that understand and accept the fact that human being has been able, through their history, to create things that are not able to control, that became, in a way, bigger than them and not understandable, and not usable, and not handable. The research of Stefano, in a way, is about hyperobjects. It means that it's about this phenomenon, and the root is in the human action over our planet. Timothy Morton describes many qualities of these hyperobjects, but there are three that for me are particularly interesting. Three that, in my opinion, make specifically meaning in the work of Stefano. Because Timothy Morton describes hyperobject as characterized by viscosity, by non-locality, and by undulated temporality. What does it mean? What are these characteristics? What is viscosity? Is the ability of this object to do not stand by themselves, but like viruses, to be attached, glued to things, to objects, to people, to the experience of the everyday life. The non-locality refers to the fact that these phenomena can be understood only on a global scale, cannot be witnessed directly. We witness only a simple epiphany, a simple manifestation of them, but not their complexity. And third, when we talk about this undulating temporality, it means that sometimes they appear, sometimes they disappear, Sometimes it seems they're not there anymore, but basically they're only somewhere else. I mean, simply, we don't know hyperobject through experience. But we can only understand through a cognitive process of study, research, and then understanding. Well, this description of the hyperobject, in my opinion, is the description of the practice of Stefano. Talking about climate change, talking about of global warming through a camera like the images we are looking at now, that shows temperature instead of the spectrum of the visible, it means concentrating in an effective image this idea of a dimension that is attached to things, that cannot be witnessed through experience, and is under a constant process of changement. And in fact, is Timothy Morton himself in his book that talks about the role of art as a tool that can help the understanding of hyperobjects. And I look at the work of Stefano absolutely in this way. I always give to my students in university to read the book we wrote, the 2 books we wrote together. And I always share the images of his work when I talk about the problem related with sustainability. I mean, I make this small parenthesis, but it's quite interesting and maybe funny, I don't know. But I teach in a fashion school where clearly the problem of the contradiction between industrial production and sustainability is a clear and tragic paradox. And I always ask to my students, why, when we deal with fashion, we don't care. We really don't care about how polluting and violent is this business. Why we don't care, why the style is so more important than how violent and polluting is this field. And it's simply that we are bad people. It's just that the answer. Or maybe there is another answer. The other answer is the answer given by Timothy Morton, in my opinion, and the answer given through the work by Stefano. The fact that this phenomenon in our experience are so difficult to understand, are so difficult to experience them in their complexity, that clearly we forget them because we don't understand them. In my opinion, the work of Stefano is so precious because it works directly in this opposite direction. To remember them, to not forget them. Because the impact they had, and most of all, they will have in our life. It's going to be so tragically crucial that it will demonstrate that we really do not understand reality anymore, only through experience.
Grazie, Alessandro. Thank you, really. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, it was really amazing. Wow, I'm so happy. Oh, guys, we can have like a short kind of conclusion with Raffaella. Grazie per il lavoro con I media.
Here I am. Yeah, it was a pleasure to work on your videos, showing your art. And it was a pleasure and an honor to have such great panelists talking about this, touching such interesting points about art and your art, Stefano. We have been talking the power of art to go beyond and maybe break borders and work on the concept of identity. We have been talking about the strength of art and its ethical and political implications. We have been talking about the importance of art and the way you use art as a tool and channel of dialogue with nature and humanity, after all, and the ability of your art to stimulate reflections on a time span as long as a million of years, and also at the same time talking about the future and what you foresee somehow as a shamano in your practice performing that way. So I think we have covered such a vast and broad and interesting, stimulating span of topics, all related to, climate change and environmental issues, but also connected to the role of humanity in connection with this topic. So it was a precious conversation.
Oh, thank you, Rafaela, really. We want to have like a little very quick round, like, I don't know, or we can just, I think it was very full of things. I think I'm very happy that we have the recording of this, because it's very nice to have. Yeah, now I have this 1 week in Canarie, talking about migrating matter, and after back to Italy and direct to Bergen. So the important thing about all these people that was so connected with Norway is a mix about Norway, Venice Biennale, and tropical places. That this looks very strange combination, but this is the reality. Probably this is the fact that the art can very connect people and we can try to tell something about the future, looking the past for the future, because really also the other thing that we have very short vision in the time. This is the fact I very think about time, because we are very focused in our time always. We think we say that we know the past, we look in the future, but normally we are just focused in just our life. That's very short. But the impact on the planet is unbelievably strong. We are very. It's unbelievable that we are so strong in this kind of interaction. But we forget completely the symbiosis that we probably was really far in the past, a kind of. Because also now I was working with archaeologists and like in the villages from the maybe 5,000 years ago in the Alps, the impact was already very strong. At some point we started to build a lot, and we are not so different, and we are very similar. We are not changing so much. We are just only more strong. We are more. We grow like 1 billion every 10 years. That's like impossible to. It's incredible. And we need energy. We eat energy. We need materials. We need matter. We burn, and we eat the planet. Finally, we are eating the planet. Okay, you want to say just a ciao to everybody, and okay, I give you Alessandro. Now this work with the trees and the exchange of energy with the young people. Now it's in the show in the Maga. Was open yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yes, it's quite interesting because it's a very different context. This video, it's a part of the collection of the museum, but now I curated this new exhibition from the work of the collection of the museum. That actually it's an exhibition about colors, and about the fact that, in a way, through the 20th century, in Italian, in European, in Western art in general, we see how, in a way, we see two different approaches to the languages of color. On one side, we could say a sort of Goethe approach related with a sort of romantic and emotional link between expression and chromatism, and on the other side, this sort of Newton and scientific approach to perception and the physical nature of what color are. And both of them that seem so much the one the opposite of the other. In the end, we understood actually they say the same thing. They say that colors, more than a quality of the material that we are looking at, they characterize the eye of who is actively looking at something. Color is a quality that is inside our process of vision rather than in the material we are looking at. And I think your work in a way completely shows that, because this unexpected, spectacular transformation of chromatism is clearly happening because through a lens, through a technological lens, we are looking at the same reality but in a different way.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I will have to come and visit the show soon, I hope. It's open till, Alessandro?
4th of December.
Okay. Well, I hope. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Oh, thank you, Malin. So, and see you soon. Yeah. Khaled. Maybe see you see you in Venice for the closing of Biennale, I think. Yes?
Yes, most likely, yes.
Okay, so see you there for the closing. Also, Camilla, thank you. Thank you, everybody, really. And thank you to Frida is not here anymore, but I'd say ciao. And vi ho detto, salutato tutti? Ah, Maria.
Yeah. She left. Yeah.
She left. Okay. Also Maria. Anyway, I'm in Bergen soon also. Okay, grazie Raffaella.
Thank you all. Grazie Stefano. Hope to see you soon in Bergen. I hope to join the opening. Yeah.
Wow. I really hope. Yes.
Yeah. So
I cross finger. Yeah. Okay. Grazie a tutti.
Thank you, Stefano, for connecting us all.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.